Okay, thank you very much, George.
Thanks, George.
Kate? Thank you. All right. Here's the document.
Thank you.
Never thought.
Thanks, Tom. No problem.
Is that what you just said? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
He hit the...
He probably stays.
Okay, I'd like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board to order. Today is Thursday, July 18th, 2019. Present at today's meeting are
Cynthia Carter.
Bob Haley.
Don Radke
Jeff Romano.
Lisa Tanzi.
and
Kate
excuse-
Auetter.
and excuse the absences from Joe, Tom,
From Joe, Tom, and Julia,
and Julia,
Dan.
and Dan. Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'd like a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Any changes, modifications? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Old business, no old business. New business, local protected site nomination, LPS 1901, 429 State Street. If in fact it's the desire of this body to recommend it for local designation or not, I will need a motion.
I move that we nominate the building to the locally protected sites because I think we can safely say that it is historically significant as it relates to the Italian-American history in Syracuse. It's architecturally distinctive, as was described by the young man from
Jonathan Logan from upstate, yeah.
and it certainly holds that corner and is an important historic remnant of what the street was.
Okay, so you're talking criteria number 1, 2, and 3?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second to that motion? Second. Any discussion on the motion?
I'm just, okay, so 1, 2, I want to make sure associations with persons of events of historic significance to the city. So you were talking about the Angeloro family and Italian making, as well as the brewing
Yes.
history as well? Okay.
Yeah, I think that we had a wonderful contribution to the history from the family on this particular project that gave us a lot more detail than we're usually availed to, including the importance to immigrants and business development in the city of Syracuse at the turn of the century.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Certificate of appropriateness, CA-19-13, 509 Cedric Drive, a new fence installation.
Come on up. No, you can come and sit.
I come and sit
It's a
right
little
here.
less formal.
And please give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Peter Canavo, and I'm at 509 Cedric Drive in Syracuse.
Welcome.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, the floor is yours. Okay.
I have your application if you wanted to refer to it while you're...
I don't remember any dimensions.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Nothing to quote that. But so what we're doing is we want to replace the fence behind our house. What has been there from the time we moved in 17 years ago was a chain link fence, which was quite ugly and rusted looking. The fence had to be partially removed by our neighbors behind us who are not in the preservation district, and I'll say why that's relevant in a second, because they were cutting down some trees that had gotten diseased, and so the tree removal people had to remove part of the fence. So now what you have is basically a metal bar with the fencing out. I mean, it looks terrible, but what we had wanted to do all this time is to replace the chain link fence with something more aesthetically pleasing. So we chose a wooden fence, and we shows a scalloped fence, which I guess is not in conformity with the historic architecture, partly because we want to continue to have contact with our neighbors behind us, and also for aesthetic reasons. We're at the edge of the preservation district. The fence will not be visible from the street. If the fence had been moved 1 foot into our neighbor's yard, if they had put it up instead, if they put it up, then it would be outside the preservation district. It wouldn't even be covered. So basically our position is, one, that it's actually an aesthetic improvement. It will look a lot nicer. And two, that it's also not visible from, you know, anywhere on the street, so it wouldn't affect the streetscape at all, or the appearance of the neighborhood. And three, that it's at the edge of the preservation district. So, and what is in line, I guess, with the historic guidelines would be a straight fence. Now that would block off. We'd have to either make it really low or put it at the right height, which would then block off our contact with our neighbors. And also, I think his thought was just aesthetically, just not as pleasant to look at. So.
Just for the I learned something as well. We did something similar to this, and we did a fence that looks like this across the top. Then it has like a window pane straight across the top with little caps along the edge. So and we can see our neighbors. We can talk to our neighbors. So.
Okay, so, and that's in conformity?
We got that approved by the board, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Question for going, what's your intentions in terms of staining or painting? What material are you
We're
using?
not sure yet. It's going to be wood.
It's going to be cedar or?
Cedar.
Pressure treated or
No, it's not pressure treated.
It is a cedar.
It is a
A
cedar.
red cedar.
It's a red cedar. So what will happen is that it will
Naturally
naturally age. We have to wait at least a year before deciding whether or not to paint it, because it has to dry out. And where our inclination is not to paint it, is to just let, partly because of maintenance, but also and probably environmental reasons and just
Right.
Appearance.
Right. Okay.
Let me just speak to the the aesthetic issue regarding fencing of backyards. Typically, this was not an area that was decorated as was the front of the house or the front yard. So that's why you find very common fences. In fact, just an iron bar, which it sounds like you have a remnant. That's probably original. I don't know, whatever the age of it. Iron bar was sometimes common. Certainly, a common wood fence was the most common element in historic districts. The issue that we have historically is that a decorative element was not a defining characteristic of the entire neighborhood. So it was not a place that they went to make it look more beautiful, which is what the style of the fence is that you've selected. What is appropriate is the wood fence, the height, and you can look over a 5-foot fence if that's the top. What is appropriate also is just a straight, flat cut board. Sometimes a picket, which again, those were the two simplest backyard fences. So we looked to that, and that's why my position on this and the board's general position is not a decorative element. So I would recommend a flat top board, so a fence of everything else you said would be appropriate. You know. Even, and to be a subtlety, then you break it down, even the newel posts become an issue in a way, or not the newel post, but the actual post. Yeah, the decorative acorns, never done, seldom done in the backyard. If it was an estate, one of the biggest properties, they tended to decorate everything, front and back and everything else.
So you're saying even decorative posts would not be?
Yeah, exactly.
As simple and straight as...
It would have been a common quality element to separate the backyards. Not decorative is the primary issue.
And it is in the district, and according to the guidelines that we have to go by,
Right.
curved tops are specifically not recommended. It's specified as not
Okay.
recommended.
So the tops themselves, so it's not just the scalloping, it's the tops?
Yeah.
Those acorns on tops. So if you just go with a straight plank, or as Lisa said,
But isn't the lattice, isn't that decorative as well?
You're right.
It's interesting.
Lattice was another, what Lisa mentioned was that sometimes a horizontal fence had a top element, it could be an open element. You could have a horizontal bar and leave it totally open with no lattice so you could see through it. So
Right.
let's say your wood fence might come to 4 feet, your posts go up higher, and then 1 foot higher, you might have a horizontal so you can see through it, it'd be less dense.
Ugly, though.
Well, it's just one of the types
It
of
was
things that was
done,
done.
so,
Yeah.
But the lattice, would that require a second,
no, you could just submit it to Kate, make it vertical and horizontal, not diagonal.
so that's, okay, and that would go through?
Yeah. In other words,
Yeah.
well, yeah, Kate needs to see it. But Don made a very good point. Today's lattice is diagonal.
Right.
And that's the new product that looks foreign and new. Vertically and horizontally was what they did as porch surrounds around the lower part of porches. Vertical, and therefore in the back, and sometimes as separators between an entrance portico. That was very commonly used.
Okay.
So that'd be
If you have a
fine.
6-foot fence, you can do a 1 foot top of lattice or a 2 foot top of lattice. You have 4
Right.
foot of solid, 2 foot open.
Okay. And if we just had a flat,
Or just a flat top is acceptable also.
And a flat board fence, that would be acceptable, certainly.
so, but this, it sounds like will not get passed.
We don't recommend the curved tops, no.
Okay, okay.
And so all you'd have to do at this point is just whatever you decide on, submit it to Kate.
Okay, and would you
Kate can do
automatically
it.
sign off on it? or-
She can
I
review
can
it.
administratively
Yeah,
approve.
she can do the sign up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We don't want to hold you up, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so a horizontal, vertical lattice.
Do you want to stop,
or
do you want to
regular
stop and see
straight
the
top.
fence?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to stop and see the fence at the house?
Uh,
You can look at it right from the driveway,
Okay, where is it?
303.
Cedric? Okay, I'll drive by and take a look. Okay, I wish you would have approved it, but I can understand.
Thank you.
In some ways, we understand exactly your wish to make a beautification, but it's just not in context.
Yeah.
And of course, the fence people want to sell you the most beautiful fence, you know?
Yeah, well, we looked at a number of
sure.
choices, and we decided that was the one we actually picked.
Gotcha.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay,
Okay, let me give you those, so.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye. Moving on, CA-1914, 100 Circle Road, landscaping. Is that applicant here? Yes. Good morning.
Morning, Harry.
Please give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Harry Singleton, 100 Circle Road.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did you do shutters?
We did.
Shutter, okay, yeah, I was thinking.
You're on. Let us know what you're thinking of doing here.
Yeah, so we were planning on doing some landscaping in the backyard. We had a professional come up with a plan, and then we together modified it. So what we're asking for approval is for the modified plan.
Enough copies to pass around, or otherwise?
Yes, yeah, everybody, I gave it to you.
Oh, is it in there?
I just got it.
Oh,
I just gave
okay.
it to you
I
this
see.
morning.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Thank you. And 100 is on the corner, correct?
It's right where Berkeley and Circle split,
Right.
but it's not like
Right.
it's not a 90-degree corner.
Right.
So let me pull up the proposal.
Yeah, there are houses on either
So there are
side.
a number of elements of the proposal. First is we have asphalt driveway that goes from the street all the way to the shed. The issue is that, in terms of practicality, it's incredibly narrow here, so that we actually can't drive our cars towards the back, and it's a shed, not a garage. So the first is to remove the asphalt driveway from the rear porch all the way to the shed. The second element is to install patio here off the porch, another patio in front of the shed, and then a walkway, 4-foot wide walkway connecting those
Thank
two. The plan is to use clay brick. The base of the house is red brick, and so the idea is to keep consistent aesthetically with what's already with the home. The third element is install pond towards the back of the property, which I drew just a very much of a rectangle, but we may do something kind of semi-formal like this, or something kidney-shaped, but the idea is to put a pond towards the back. To the left of the pond would be a pergola. Either two types of materials, either black locust logs or cedar that's milled. Black locust is hard to come by. I kind of like the look aesthetically better,
Yeah.
but trying to find it is hard. So, but we're not really chomping at the bit for that right now. And then to ensure safety with the pond in the backyard, because it is a water feature, we want to enclose the backyard with a fence that would start towards the back porch. And you can see on the
Gate.
drawing here, there would be a gate that allows you to go to the street. And it's just a small L shape because the neighbor's fence is right there. That's where the corner is. So it's just connecting.
The style of the gate, this is the style, because you already have one, right? This
Yeah,
is-
so
this
that-
is.
And the
sorry, go
rest of
ahead.
the property is already fenced or not?
Yeah, so the property is fenced on the south and the north,
Okay.
and then the picture that I sent
Yeah.
is this piece right here.
Right.
Yeah, so this is only 4 feet tall, but everything around here and here is 6. I actually meant, right now we have a chain link fence that's the neighbor behind us. Our plan was to plant a bunch of arborvitae along the line to cover up the chain link fence. We haven't really decided whether we want to put a cedar fence behind those arborvitae. I didn't put that in the proposal, so I don't know if that's fine.
You'd have to come back or add that.
Or a cedar fence too, I could approve of,
Right.
as long as it's the plain cedar.
What is this
flat top.
material?
Yeah.
Okay, so that material would just be, so this material would be clay because we wanted to keep it smooth and for, disability, or if you're walking, you don't want to trip. This material here would be flagstone, which would be more irregular, and I sent some pictures from the
Right.
landscape designer.
Right.
Flagstones between the pond and the walks, is that right?
Flagstone.
Irregular flagstone
Where would
between the pond and the
Got it.
walk and all this here.
Okay.
Just as an aside, nothing to do, are you going to have fish in the pond?
Yes.
How deep?
So probably where the drain is, probably about 5 feet. But then you slope the bottom of the pond so that,
I've got one that's 44 inches, and 3 Sundays ago, something got in and ate it.
Yeah, my neighbor too.
Ate 18 fish.
oh wow.
Koi.
Gone. I'm
They were
gone.
this big.
Wiped me out in one night.
Wow.
They were gone.
Yeah, I think they might need it deeper. Because they,
Get away from
It's 44 inches deep. It's real deep. So what I, just as an aside, what I recommend, I don't know the scale and size, if you want to keep your fish, you're going to have some sort of removable screen.
okay, just to put over
Put a
the,
netting over it.
Wow. What
okay.
do you think, raccoon or what? I don't-
Yeah, I think it was raccoon.
Raccoon or,
Took them 3 years to find,
Eagle.
4 years to find it. But
Fat raccoon.
He probably had just finished eating in my garden.
Oh, I see.
wiped me out.
or the deer, perhaps it was a deer.
So,
Great plan.
yeah.
Everything looks great.
when are you going to do this?
So we asked her to give us a master plan that we can
Right.
kind of do.
Work on over time.
over time. So maybe in the next 3 years it would be all done.
It's terrific. We'll have to have a party.
Okay.
No,
Bring you some fish.
right. Any comments? This is a certificate of appropriateness application, so we need a motion.
I think, just one question. Sure. The pergola. Do you want to, you have a concept for location, but no details. Do you want to just leave that open for the future? Is that what you're saying? So once you decide what to build, you then have to show us that?
I do have pictures
Oh, okay.
of what I have in mind, and
And the black locust, you can find sources for through Ashley McGraw Architects,
okay.
who use black locust on the West Hill schools, many projects.
You gave us
Gotcha.
this picture, right, of,
Natural black locust.
Yeah, that's what the landscape designer gave me
Oh, okay.
as a concept. This is one that's more like,
oh, that's right, yep,
it's more like this.
yep,
Yeah.
just very,
Yeah.
So it's
Yep.
Very
typical
simple.
pergola, but instead it's log.
Yeah. And so there'd be natural, both of them would be
Nice.
natural finish, I think is what you implied.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it'd be a natural black locust with a weather. Yeah.
Is there a fire element at all?
Is there, I'm sorry?
Fire element?
No,
Okay.
nothing like
Only 'cause I
a
just,
gas pipeline or.
Okay.
So like, my point here is that anything that would be a physical construction, you need to resubmit the actual construction of that object,
Okay.
for approval.
Yeah, and we can give Kate the administrative authority on that.
And we can, I would make a motion that we accept the plan as submitted, pending details on any further construction.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
All right, great.
Ready.
Thank you very much for your
Looks
time.
terrific, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, moving on, we have one pre-development discussion, 831 West Fayette Street.
It's gonna be a while. Okay.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Good. Please give us your name and address for the record,
Yep, Jonathan Lasala, and then my home address or the project address?
whichever.
831 West Fayette Street.
Okay. You got the floor.
Welcome.
So this is a if I may just take the floor for a minute as you're unrolling your plans. This is a pre-development, pre-development.
Pre-development.
Because you're still really trying to work out many of the details. But one detail that they do know they want to do is to remove what appears to be a modern addition on the rear of the property. So
Thank you.
that would be the one of the questions I'm sure everyone will have. Thank you. How come it's all so white?
Oh, sorry.
I did send you some demolition.
Right.
Kate, to your email. Mostly a paperless guy in this generation, but I can get those for you guys again.
Oh, you know what? And I didn't see those photos. Oh, you did?
Just
Okay.
sent them this morning.
Oh, okay.
This will give you folks an idea of what we're trying to do. So I guess I'll go over what we're trying to demo, or what we were thinking about demoing, what we wanted to get your folks' feedback on. So the building at 831 West Fayette, there is a bunch of structures that were added onto over the years, but part of the original building, the only real part of the original building that we're looking to demolish is this back portion here. The original building is a 44,000 square foot, 3-story brick building that was added onto. This section was added on in the back, which is looks like a wood section, and then these buildings over the years. Looks like it's the only part of the original structure that we're going to be demolishing. But as you can see from this preliminary site plan, we would be demolishing this back portion and using that for parking. So the only thing that would be remaining is the 44,000 square foot original structure, and then this is a decorative block building that doesn't look too great in our opinion, but we would be demoing about half of that. It's 11,000 square feet. We'd keep about 58, about 60% of it, and connect them with a corridor just to keep the frontage of the road in line with kind of
What's the use?
The use is going to be primarily residential here, and then this 5,800 will be commercial. We do not know what type of commercial yet.
On this elevation, what's this structure here? Is this that long L in the back?
So this elevation is looking at it from West Fayette. So it's actually this.
Structure
Okay.
that's on the that faces the street.
So that's a one-story building.
Correct. This is a 1-story. This is
Got a
3
Yellow
stories.
brick facade, right?
Yes, it's like orangish yellowish.
Yep.
I've driven past the building many times.
Yeah.
Is that the former ceramic studio?
No. Actually, I believe it is former Syracuse.
Yeah.
I don't know what was in there before. But it's an old Case Supply building.
Okay.
Old.
I think it was his name, he's relocated, sorry.
But yeah, it's a gorgeous building. We'd like to, keep it
As commercial,
yeah,
one-story commercial space, but smaller.
This building.
Yeah.
This isn't so gorgeous. Sorry, I was talking about the large
Yes,
building.
yes, I
This,
understand.
we're only keeping it to basically keep we talked to the neighborhood a little bit here and there, Rick DeStito and those guys on the near west side and some in the neighborhood. And what they really didn't want was a large parking lot. Just,
In the front,
yeah.
yes.
Well done.
Yes.
So what we did was we said, well, we can keep this rather than building something new and try to use it for commercial. So we don't know what that will be at this point in time. We're talking to
Would you be leaving the facade and the exterior material the same, or?
on this building.
Yes.
No, we try to make it much better looking.
Okay.
We
But
don't know.
essentially
But you
trying to
just don't
save the
know.
building and, at this point, for the frontage of the street, which is important. These were always built, just about always built to the street property line, and so that's a good move at this stage of your project. Certainly, street parking is not desirable in these areas. Inner block, center block parking is much more advantageous.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about your Seneca Street side of the building. What's the parking requirement that you're working towards? Are you meeting that goal? And is this the new code or the old code?
So according to the new code, we'll have almost enough. There are going to be about 48 spots, 4 of which will be handicap. We had a pre-development meeting, which Yolanda Johnson set up for us. We heard some feedback from the parking that they really didn't want to see these curb cuts the way they were. They'd like it to be easy for the plows. So we're working on that. We're agnostic to kind of the Seneca Street parking as long as it can benefit kind of the building. But we know that we will need a little bit of street parking in terms of, especially if this becomes something that would be more retail-based commercial. But as of right now, we're working with the city to go over that.
Okay, our jurisdiction here is just comment.
At this point, yeah, it's even
Strictly a
just the
discussion, so,
and
we're not making any decisions.
Do you have any other intentions for the coffee building, rice and coffee building in terms of treatment? No, the original
We
significant.
don't at this time. We'd like to keep the brick facade and repoint it. It's really beautiful. We'd like to keep the kind of the painting on the side of it, but it's all going to depend on what condition it's in.
I mean, the signage, what about the signage,
Yeah.
the painted signage?
Yeah.
We'd like to keep that. So
Which is a good direction to go.
yeah, and the windows are all beautiful. There's a lot of windows in each section, so we'd like to get those replaced to look kind of original. Sure. And but it's really going to come down to the condition and then the preservation, I think.
Regarding the windows, just for future thought, full height vertical glass and daylight would be the most appropriate.
Operational, don't
top and
change
bottom for
openings.
ventilation, and as opposed to any kind of an opaque transom.
Right.
Okay.
And don't automatically think that they need to be replaced. It's a condition thing. You got to look
That's a
at
good
them.
point.
You could have an interior storm or something like that. So if they do have to be replaced, then they have to be replaced. But if not, we always like to see original material retained as much as possible.
Okay.
Can I ask just in terms of this back, the back end of the building there, that's a cinder block? Is that
It's actually wood, and I can
is it wood?
pass my phone
Okay.
around real
Good.
quick and show you.
Yeah.
I'll show each of you so you can all see it. But as you can see, this section here, it's all brick. So when it gets into the back, it
Oh, yeah.
goes from brick, a single-story section.
And you're retaining
We're
this,
removing
you're
that.
just removing that? Okay, okay, yeah.
Correct. So
if
that's
you
what
could-
it looks like.
Okay, if you can,
Yeah, and I-
thank you, I'll send
I'd
this
also like to see.
Yeah, it might be,
So
but
this is the original brick structure. This is this building. This
Yes.
picture is taken looking this way. So from here back is a single-story
This is the
wood
single-story wood.
facade added on to over the years. So we're gonna
Okay,
be
so you're
removing
saving
from
this
back.
section,
Correct.
which is the brick.
One story.
All this is staying. We like to make it stay as original as possible,
Okay, and then you're taking the wooden
Correct.
section, which is here.
which is where the park.
And behind the wood, is there more of this?
No, not to my knowledge. It was added on, and it looks like it's still wood. So this is what the building looks like from Marcellus Street. It's just wood with some siding.
Okay.
It's kind of ragtag, but it might be
Marcellus
pretty
Street.
old.
Yeah, and so like I was
Sorry, is this Marcellus Street?
This is the
I believe so.
44,000 square foot. This is taken from this angle. We'd be removing from there back. We'd keep that this original section.
Have you been inside that building there?
I have been inside all of it other than this back portion that we're taking now. It's
Okay,
filled
that's
with
what I was wondering, because you never know if it was covered up. It looks like a garage or a storage or a shed or
Yeah, I
a
think
carriage
over
building
the
or
years
something,
they
yeah.
just-
They kept finishing it up and trying to use it.
And then I'll show you guys the other building, this 11,000 square feet. This is what it looks like. We'd be taking down this back portion.
Yeah, that's
So this
Okay.
so it doesn't look great right now.
It's the Bob Shenfield Ceramic Studio, I think is
Right.
what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think at one point he was making some really great ceramics.
He made the replacement ceramics for the World Trade Center terminal underneath in that studio. Bob Shenfield's ceramics is global, China as well as World Trade Center.
This is taken from this angle, so we remove the back 40% of the building to create this.
Wow.
We really did want to keep this tall structure because it's actually really, it's high bay and but it's already collapsing and the roof is wood, and so I don't think we'll be able to.
Question that Jeff and I were just talking about
Okay.
is, on this corner, it's a pretty exposed parking lot.
Correct.
And I don't know, you'll work with the city going with these kind of curb cuts. I don't know if that's going to work, but have you given any thought to screening or any thought to, I know you don't want to eliminate in parking places, but, just having a big parking lot on the corner is not desirable if we can avoid it.
So they did mention a couple of things, to do some berms or some bushes. They'd like to keep there's 3 trees here. There's one here, here, and here, which they'd like us to keep and protect during construction, which we're all for. I think we really got to talk about what we can do to make it look a little bit better.
Well, there's minimums. Parking lot, you need 5 foot of vegetation, off the parking lot to the fence, kind of thing. Check I might be a little off
Check the
on the
code on
code, but there's minimum requirements, especially going forward. The city's really not too keen on the idea of parking lot in corners.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
this element here needs to be touched up, and I'm not sure the distances between your exiting and your entrance to the back parking lot out onto Marcella Street and proximity to the intersection, how close those are,
Okay.
how close these are, and how close this is to the intersection.
Okay.
For your
You have to look at the code on that.
double check.
Jonathan, another question. What is the current, if you know, please share with us because it's helpful to us. You're developing a housing project with a number of units. What is the code today that you're trying to work to for parking? If it's not 100%, what is it? If it's not 1 car per unit, roughly, what is it?
The new code that was just changed gives us a little bit more, it's a little bit more liberal in terms of what they allow. So I think that's what we'll be working towards, but whatever makes sense. I mean, we'd like each unit to have, there's going to be 36 units altogether. So we have 48. So really the rest of those, even if most of them are going to be 1 bedroom. There's, I think, 6 2-bedrooms. So even with that, all the residents will have parking, and there'll be, we're planning on doing market rate.
So you're trying to give all the residents a parking space, but the code does not require that? I'm sorry, I'm asking here because I don't know. And there's no set formula, like it's not 75% of the number of units or something like that. I know in some cases it's less.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if it's totally negotiable on your project, and maybe that's the case.
Right.
Okay, if it's negotiable, then you try and show the maximum you can do and see if the city will accept that, I guess.
And I know there is a code for residential. I believe it's 1 per unit.
It is 1 per unit.
Yeah, it is
And
1.
then you go into transit support, or what kind of clients you have in your units, and do they need cars and so on. You start to break it in reverse to find the need for parking. But I didn't know what you were working to for this project. Is it 100%? It sounds like it is.
Yeah, we're working towards as many as we can get. And originally what we had was taking this building down as well. But when we heard the feedback that they didn't really, they'd like to keep that, building to the frontage.
And that's the same thing here.
Yeah.
You have an exposed parking lot facing Marcella Street. I'd like to see you work on that.
Okay.
In fact, it would be appropriate to take the context adjacent down here of smaller units, possibly consider a smaller unit on the corner to hold the corner.
Okay.
And it could be simply a one-shop business kind of building to match the scale or character of that corner.
Remnant of that garage space.
Yeah,
And then
Sorry.
you come off of Syracuse Street for your parking lot.
right.
The one thing that we discussed in the in-house pre-development meeting was the fact that, just as with this 429 North State Street, when there's a demolition permit that is proposed, that the board has the ability to send it into local protected site consideration. So in our precedent that has been set is that we look at what it is that's being demolished.
Right.
And so one of the questions in terms of helping the developers with their path forward is is the board comfortable with the removal of this rear portion? Did you want more documentation before saying anything? Or is it your interest to
Well, personally, this is just discussion, personally, I'm very familiar, I've seen this a million times. Parts of it are old, but I don't think it has any significance, any integrity from my point of view.
And as a pre-development meeting, which is this, is pre-pre.
Yes,
We would like to know any historic facts
Yeah,
that might
I mean,
be
if you
hidden,
got 'em,
to
get
the
'em.
property, even though there probably are none.
there are some, I mean,
Maybe John Wilkes Booth hid there or something.
Yeah.
I know, but Cynthia, you did the industrial,
I did, and I remember the building in the front, but I don't remember the back.
the back end.
Yeah, I really don't.
So if you
I mean,
could provide
generally, if
any
it's a
additional
non-contributing addition,
Yeah,
in general, I think that the board's feeling has been, that's, that does not kick it into the designation.
Right.
Right, but kind of my point and what Bob is kind of
Yeah.
spoken to, mimic what's facing Marcella Street and scale on that corner, so we
Right.
don't lose another corner. 'Cause
Right.
Yeah.
across the street, there's an old bar that burned up, so
Right.
that's just lingering.
Right.
And over here, I think it's an empty
And,
lot.
and the suggestion is just a single story or
Right,
story and a half.
Or
kind of-
even taking your shed and having indoor parking in there.
Well, I was gonna ask that, would you be open to that,
Well, a physical building, even if it's a shed, would help establish a mass on that corner. And you have a 4 or 5-story building right across the street.
Yeah, 6 or.
Yeah, you might want to look at that shed and see
And
if
I
something
would
is
encourage you even
salvageable
to
in that
consider
corner.
Okay.
that parking shed having solar panels on it to the benefit of your entire project. Because you could do a sawtooth shed condition, south-facing solar, rain collector,
Whatever.
solar collector, all to the benefit of your project. You can get tax money, get some credit for it,
Yeah.
save some energy, promote your project.
Absolutely.
And still anchor the corner.
Still anchor in the corner, which
My
is the key
goodness, you
thing.
can't do any better than all that.
All right, so hopefully we've given you some direction, and we'll be looking for the final.
is this going to be a tax credit project?
We will be trying to apply for the CFA application coming up here the next week or so. And then we are looking, it is an opportunity zone. So we're potentially looking that route to get some folks involved with that. But we haven't,
Not the
we're still
historic
blank
tax
slate and
credits.
open.
So far the historic,
Yeah.
right, not so far the historic tax credits. So-
I'd look at that.
Because if you were going to do the historic tax credits, that would be something you would absolutely need to check with the State Preservation Office before you
Absolutely.
demolished any portion.
Right, exactly.
You're in the
That
ship
was
on
my-
that
Yeah,
completely.
thank you. Yeah, I should have let you make the.
And then a quick question in terms of finding any historical information. Would I just go to the OHA?
That's right, start.
Yeah.
Always the best starting point.
It's always the best place to go for a start.
And if there's any neighbors that are still living in the area that have been there a long time.
Unless you're the
We already know
great-grandson.
it was
Unless you're the
the-
great-grandson of the
Right.
original builder.
We already know it was the Engelberg Huller Company, manufacturers of rice and coffee machinery from the 1911 Sanborn Mass.
Yes.
Thanks to Cynthia.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll
For your time?
Good luck with your project.
be looking forward to it.
Yeah, look forward to working with you on that. Let's look at the next vision.
Okay, there being nothing else, meeting's adjourned.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Jolly good.
And the next meeting is the 5th